From the ashes of a crumbling world, a new empire emerged, unstoppable, terrifying, and knocking on Europe's door. The Ottoman Empire, once a small Turkish principality, would rise to dominate 3 continents, shattering kingdoms and rewriting the map of Europe. But how did they do it? How did a single dynasty expand from the edges of Anatolia to the gates of Vienna in just a few centuries? What made the Ottomans such a relentless force, feared by emperors and kings alike? It all started in the 13th century. As the Mongols wrecked the Islamic world, a small Turkish tribe led by Osman seized the opportunity. With skilled warriors, strategic alliances, and a hunger for conquest, the Ottomans grew at an unstoppable pace. By the 15th century, they were no longer just an emerging power. They were Europe's greatest nightmare. The Ottoman Empire began as a small Turkish principality in Anatolia around 1299, founded by Osman. At the time, the region was a chaotic battleground. The Mongols had crushed the Seljuk Turks, leaving behind a power vacuum. Osman and his followers, known as Ghazi warriors, were Islamic frontier fighters, driven by the promise of conquest and faith. The Ottomans expanded rapidly, not just through war, but through smart diplomacy. They formed alliances, absorbed weaker states, and recruited Christian soldiers into their elite Janissary corps. Their army was unlike anything Europe had seen, a perfect fusion of cavalry, gunpowder, and discipline. By the 14th century, the Ottomans crossed into Europe, taking Gallipoli in 1354. Soon they were swallowing up Bulgaria, Serbia, and parts of Greece. The dream of a European empire had begun, and nothing seemed capable of stopping them. For centuries, Constantinople was the ultimate prize. It was the crossroads of Europe and Asia, the wealthiest city of its time, and the last stronghold of the Byzantine Empire. But by the 15th century, the city was a shadow of its former glory, surrounded by the ever-expanding Ottoman Empire. In 1453, Sultan Mehmed, just 21 years old, led a massive army of over 80,000 troops to lay siege to Constantinople. The city's defenders, outnumbered nearly 10 to 1, relied on their legendary Theodosian walls, fortifications that had repelled invaders for over 1,000 years. But Mehmed had something no previous enemy possessed: gunpowder artillery. After weeks of relentless bombardment, a fatal mistake doomed the city. A small gate, the Kirka Porta, was left open, allowing Ottoman troops to break through. Emperor Constantine died fighting, and on May 29, 1453, Constantinople fell. The city was renamed Istanbul, becoming the new capital of the Ottoman Empire. This was more than just a victory. It was the beginning of Ottoman dominance in Europe. With Constantinople in their hands, the empire had an open door to the west, and the nightmare for Europe was only just beginning. With Constantinople secured, the Ottomans turned their attention to the Balkans. Their goal? Total domination of southeastern Europe. One by one, Christian kingdoms fell. Serbia, once a dominant force in the region, was crushed at the Battle of Kosovo, 1389, forcing it into vassalage. Bulgaria collapsed in 1396, and the powerful Hungarian kingdom found itself on the defensive. Even the fierce resistance of Vlad the Impaler of Wallachia, modern Romania, only managed to slow the Ottoman advance, not stop it. The secret to Ottoman success was their ruthless efficiency. They combined skilled cavalry, disciplined janissaries, and advanced gunpowder weaponry to overwhelm their enemies. And their empire wasn't just built on military force, it was built on a system of tolerance and integration. Conquered Christian populations were taxed but allowed to keep their faith, and many non-Muslims even served in the Ottoman administration and military. By the early 16th century, the Ottomans controlled most of the Balkans, from Greece to Hungary. Europe had lost its southeastern flank, and the Ottoman armies were marching closer to the heart of the continent. But their most ambitious campaign was still to come: the invasion of Central Europe itself. By the 16th century, the Ottoman war machine had pushed deep into Central Europe. After securing Hungary, Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent set his sights on Vienna, the gateway to Western Europe. If the Habsburg capital fell, nothing would stop the Ottomans from marching into Germany, Italy, or even France. In 1529, Suleiman led an army of 120,000 men, including his elite janissaries and fearsome Sipahi cavalry, to lay siege to Vienna. The city's defenders, numbering only 20,000, knew they faced impossible odds. But they had one advantage: the city's thick medieval walls and a determined European coalition led by Austrian Archduke Ferdinand I. For 2 months, the Ottomans bombarded the walls, launched human wave attacks, and dug tunnels beneath the city. But Vienna held firm. Then winter arrived early, bringing freezing rain and mud, making further assaults impossible. Facing starvation and supply shortages, Suleiman was forced to retreat, his first major defeat in Europe. Though the Ottomans remained a dominant power, the siege of Vienna marked the limit of their expansion into Western Europe. The empire would still pose a major threat, but the tide was slowly turning against them. For over 2 centuries, the Ottomans had seemed unstoppable. But by the 17th century, the balance of power began to shift. European nations modernized, adapted, and formed alliances to push back against the Ottoman threat. One of the first major turning points was the Battle of Lepanto, 1571, where a coalition of Christian states, led by Spain and Venice, defeated the Ottoman navy. It was the first real dent in Ottoman dominance, proving that their forces were not invincible. But the biggest blow came in 1683, when the Ottomans made a second attempt to capture Vienna. This time, a massive European alliance, led by Polish King Jan Sobieski, crushed the Ottoman siege. The Ottoman retreat marked the beginning of their long decline. If you enjoy this historical deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.